The antiseptic corridors of Kepler Station hummed with the constant vibration of life support systems, a mechanical heartbeat that Dr. Ethan Cross had grown to hate over the past 18 months. Once, he had walked these halls as a respected xenobiologist, his research on interspecies communication earning him accolades across the scientific community. Now, he pushed a maintenance cart through the same passages, invisible to the researchers who had once sought his counsel. His fall from grace had been swift and merciless. When corporate interests threatened the last breeding ground of the Meridian, sea singers creatures whose songs could heal damaged neural pathways, Ethan had falsified extinction data to protect them. The truth emerged within weeks. His career died overnight, his reputation poisoned across every academic institution in known space. The only job he could find was here, cleaning up after experiments he was no longer allowed to participate in. Tonight, as he mopped the floors of Laboratory 7, Ethan could hear the frustrated voices of Dr. Helena Voss and her team through the reinforced observation window. For months, they had been attempting to form a neural bond with subject Omega-7, a vorthic larva no larger than a house cat. The creature huddled in the corner of its containment cell, its obsidian scales dulled with stress, 6 legs tucked protectively beneath its serpentine body. Another failure, Dr. Voss announced to her team, removing her neural interface headset. With visible irritation, the creature rejected the connection attempt within seconds. Jenkins is in the medical bay with severe neural feedback. Through the glass, Ethan watched the researchers pack their equipment. He had seen this routine. Dozens of times brilliant minds applying cold methodology to a being that defied their understanding. They approached the larva like a puzzle, to be solved rather than a living creature capable of fear and pain. As the team departed, discussing their next approach with clinical detachment, Ethan noticed something they had missed. The larva's breathing was labored, irregular. A thin line of luminescent fluid vorthic blood traced down its left side where the latest neural probe had been inserted. The wound was deeper than protocol allowed, and by morning it would likely prove fatal. Standing alone in the corridor, Ethan faced a choice that would reshape not just his life, but the understanding of an entire species. He could continue mopping floors, safe in his anonymity, or he could remember who he once was, a man who believed that every creature deserved compassion, regardless of its potential danger. The maintenance cart forgotten, Ethan overrode the laboratory security system with credentials he wasn't supposed to still possess. As the containment cell door hissed open, the larva raised its triangular head, amber eyes meeting his with surprising intelligence. In that moment, neither predator nor prey. They were simply 2 wounded souls recognizing something profound in each other. Asterisk, the larva trembled as Ethan approached, not with aggression, but with the exhaustion of a creature pushed beyond its limits. Up close, he could see the network of scars from previous experiments, each one a testament to months of failed bonding attempts. The researchers had been trying to force what could only be given freely. "Easy there," Ethan whispered, slowly removing his jacket and tearing it into strips. "I know they hurt you. I know what it's like to be treated like you don't matter." The creature's breathing grew more labored as Ethan gently cleaned the wound with sterile solution from the emergency kit. As he worked, he found himself talking not with the clinical detachment of a researcher, but with the raw honesty of someone who understood rejection and abandonment. "I used to study beings like you," he continued, carefully applying a biosynthetic bandage. "I thought I could speak to any species, bridge any gap. But I learned the hard way that sometimes the greatest communication happens in silence, in simply being present when someone is suffering." The larva's amber eyes never left his face. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, its rigid posture began to relax. When Ethan reached for the neural monitor to check its vital signs, the creature didn't recoil. Instead, it pressed its scaled head against his palm with surprising gentleness. The touch sent a jolt through Ethan's mind, not the violent neural feedback that had hospitalized other researchers, but something entirely different. Images flooded his consciousness, memories of warmth and safety from before the creature's capture, followed by months of cold laboratories and painful procedures. But beneath the trauma, Ethan sensed something unprecedented: hope, fragile, but growing. The bond formed not through technology or force, but through the simple act of one damaged being caring for another. As the connection stabilized, Ethan realized he could sense the larva's emotions as clearly as his own. Fear was fading, replaced by curiosity and, impossibly, trust. Hours passed unnoticed as Ethan sat with the creature, sharing memories through their newfound link. He showed it images of the sea singers he had protected, their haunting melodies that could heal wounded minds. In return, the larva shared glimpses of its species' true nature, not the monsters portrayed in military reports, but beings capable of profound emotional depth when treated with respect. Dawn approached, and with it, the inevitable discovery. Dr. Voss would arrive soon with her team, expecting to find a dying specimen. Instead, she would find something that challenged every assumption about Vorthik psychology: a successful bond formed not through dominance, but through compassion. As if sensing his thoughts, the larva pressed closer, its mental voice echoing in his mind for the first time. Father protector, safe warm, not alone. The simple concepts, conveyed with overwhelming gratitude, brought tears to Ethan's eyes. In trying to heal the creature's wounds, he had begun to heal his own. But as footsteps echoed in the corridor outside, he realized their greatest challenges were only beginning. Dr. Helena Voss's scream of shock echoed through the laboratory 7 as she discovered Ethan sitting calmly beside the supposedly untamable Vorthik larva. The creature had grown visibly overnight, its scales now gleaming with health, its amber eyes alert and intelligent. Most disturbing of all, it showed no signs of the aggressive behavior that had defined every previous interaction. Cross, what have you done? Voss demanded, her hand hovering over the emergency alarm. That creature is a Class 5 bioweapon. You've compromised the entire station. Ethan stood slowly, the larva moving to position itself protectively at his side. I've done what your team couldn't. I formed a genuine connection. This isn't a weapon, Helena. It's a child. The research team assembled quickly, security forces flanking them with weapons drawn. Through their neural link, Ethan felt the larva's confusion and growing distress at the hostile energy surrounding them. Its mental voice, clearer now, whispered urgently, "Danger pack. Protect father? No," Ethan replied through their bond. "They're afraid, but they won't hurt us if we don't threaten them." Admiral Sarah Chun, the station's military liaison, pushed through the crowd of researchers. Her augmented eye glowed red as it analyzed the scene, recording every detail for her superiors. "Dr. Cross, you've achieved something remarkable, but also incredibly dangerous. That creature will mature into a living weapon within weeks. We need to study this bond immediately." "Study?" Ethan's voice carried 18 months of suppressed anger. "Is that what you call torturing a sentient being? I've seen your reports. Admiral, every Vorthik in military custody has been driven insane by your studies. They don't become monsters naturally. You make them into monsters." The larva's mental distress spiked as more personnel entered the laboratory. Its body language shifted subtly, protective instincts awakening as it sensed the threat to its bonded companion. Dr. Martinez, a junior researcher, raised a neural scanner toward the creature. The larva's response was swift and decisive, not violence, but a focused telepathic pulse that sent Martinez stumbling backward, his scanner smoking and useless. "Remarkable," Admiral Chun breathed. It's already developing defensive capabilities. Cross, you've given us the key to creating the perfect soldier-bonded, loyal, and devastatingly effective. That's not what this is about, Ethan protested. But he could see the hunger in their eyes. They weren't seeing a breakthrough in interspecies understanding. They were seeing a weapon they could finally control. Through the laboratory's observation windows, Ethan noticed other Vorthic specimens in adjacent cells had become agitated. Their mental distress was affecting his bonded companion, whose protective instincts were growing stronger by the minute. What the researchers didn't understand was that Vorthics were naturally empathic. The trauma inflicted on one affected them all. The larva pressed against Ethan's leg, its thoughts now tinged with darker emotions. Pack hurt. Make stop? Father protector allows? For the first time since the bond formed, Ethan felt afraid, not of the creature he had saved, but of what the station's continued experiments might force it to become. The line between protector and predator was thinner than anyone realized, and every hostile action pushed the larva closer to fulfilling the violent prophecy everyone expected. "Admiral," Ethan said quietly, "you have a choice. Treat this creature with the respect it deserves, or create the very monster you cling to. Fear. But understand this, I won't let you torture it the way you've tortured the others." The standoff was interrupted by alarms throughout the station. Long-range sensors had detected something approaching through hyperspace, something large, fast, and unmistakably VORTHAK. The approaching Vorthic ship defied every tactical analysis in the Imperial database. Where human vessels bristled with visible weapons and armor plating, the alien craft appeared almost organic sleek curves of midnight black material that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Its size alone was intimidating. Nearly a kilometer long, dwarfing Kepler Station's defensive platforms. Admiral Chun coordinated the station's response from the command center, her augmented eye processing incoming data streams. All defensive systems online. Prepare for possible hostile action. She glanced at Ethan, who had been brought under guard along with his bonded companion. "Cross, can you communicate with them through your creature?" The larva, now noticeably larger and more developed than just hours before, pressed against Ethan's side. Its mental voice carried new complexities, emotions deepening as its intelligence evolved. "Elder Pack comes. Seek why youngling not silent." "They're not here to attack," Ethan translated, his hand resting protectively on the creature's head. "They're investigating why one of their young isn't following expected behavioral patterns. Your experiments have been broadcasting psychic distress across parsecs of space." Dr. Voss monitored the neural readings from her portable scanner. "The creature's brain activity is off the charts. It's processing information at rates we've never recorded. The bond isn't just allowing communication, it's accelerating its development." Through the viewports, the alien ship took position alongside the station. No weapons charged, no shields raised. It simply waited with the patience of a species that had outlived entire civilizations. Then, without warning, a presence touched every mind on the station simultaneously. The contact was overwhelming, ancient, vast, and profoundly alien. Most of the crew collapsed from neural feedback, but Ethan remained standing, protected by his bond with the larva. Through their connection, he glimpsed the true scope of Vorthic consciousness. A collective intelligence spanning multiple star systems, each individual both autonomous and part of a greater whole. Who thing teaches youngling? Gentle ways? The mental voice carried the weight of eons. Show self to elder-minds. Ethan stepped forward, the larva moving protectively beside him. "I am Dr. Ethan Cross. I found your young one injured and dying. I couldn't just watch it suffer." The presence examined him thoroughly, sifting through his memories and motivations. It saw his disgrace, his lost career, his desperate attempt to protect another species from exploitation. Most importantly, it witnessed the moment he chose compassion over safety, healing over dominance. Rare thing among your kind, the elder mind. Observed, most who touch younglings seek to break spirit, make weapon. You seek to heal pain. This why youngling grows strange different. Admiral Chun forced herself to her feet, neural dampeners barely protecting her from the psychic pressure. We need to discuss terms. Your kind has been classified as a hostile species. This changes things. The alien presence turned its attention to her as she staggered under the weight of its disapproval. Your kind steals younglings, breaks minds, creates monsters of pain, and fears what you have made. Elder minds grow tired of your species' ignorance. Through his bond, Ethan felt the larva's distress as it sensed the growing tension. The creature was caught between two worlds, its natural loyalty to its own species and its deep attachment to the human who had shown it kindness. As its protective instincts warred with its desire for peace, Ethan realized the true scope of the choice before them. There has to be another way, he said, addressing both the alien presence and the stations. Crew, this young one has shown that your species can form bonds of trust with humans. What if instead of creating weapons, we focused on building understanding? The elder mind's response carried both hope and warning. One youngling, one human proves possibility. But trust bond requires truth-sharing from both kinds. Your leaders must choose, continue creating monsters, or learn to nurture what could be as if sensing the weight of the moment. The larva moved between the two groups, its thoughts radiating a simple but profound message to both species. Choose together, not apart. 3 months had passed since the confrontation that nearly ended in disaster. Kepler Station had been transformed from a weapons research facility into something unprecedented in galactic history, the first interspecies diplomatic embassy. The changes went far beyond mere political restructuring. They represented a fundamental shift in how two radically different forms of consciousness could coexist. Dr. Ethan Cross, no longer a janitor, but not quite restored to his former status, watched his bonded companion demonstrate a hunting technique to a group of xenobiologists. The creature whom Ethan had taken to calling Nexus had grown to the size of a large dog. Its obsidian scales now shot through with veins of silver that pulsed gently with its heartbeat. The predatory grace was unmistakable, but so was the careful restraint it showed around the human observers. Remarkable, Dr. Vus murmured, recording the demonstration. 3 months ago, I would have called this impossible. The level of cognitive sophistication it's developing through the bond is reshaping our understanding of intelligence itself. Nexus paused in its demonstration, amber eyes finding Ethan across the room. Father Protector watches. Pride warmth from pack leader makes strong feelings. The mental communication had evolved far beyond simple concepts, now carrying nuanced emotional undertones that made conversations feel almost musical. The transformation hadn't been without challenges. Admiral Chun had initially resisted the Elder Mind's demands for complete transparency about human military research. It had taken a direct neural communion witnessed by representatives from both species to convince her that cooperation offered more strategic advantages than conflict. The experience had left her humbled, and according to her own admission, fundamentally changed in ways I'm still processing. Through the observation deck's reinforced windows, Ethan could see the Vorthic ship Harmony of Deep Currents maintaining its protective position near the station. More vessels had arrived over the weeks, not a fleet, but a collection of elder minds drawn by curiosity about the unprecedented bonding between species. Each ship was unique, grown rather than built, reflecting the individual personality of its inhabitant. The real breakthrough had come when other Vorthic specimens on the station began showing similar behavioral changes. Exposure to Nexus's contentment and the gradually improving treatment by researchers had started healing psychological wounds that everyone had assumed were permanent. 3 of the 5 captured adults had successfully formed limited bonds with carefully selected human partners, not the weapons-grade neural domination the military had sought, but genuine partnerships built on mutual respect. Ethan, Dr. Martinez called from the communication station. We're receiving a transmission from the Colonial Authority. They want a full report on the ... Kepler Protocols. The Kepler Protocols guidelines for ethical interspecies contact, developed jointly by human and Vorthic representatives, were already being studied across known space. The document represented more than just diplomatic treaty. It was proof that radically different forms of consciousness could find common ground. Through patience and genuine respect, Nexus approached, pressing its sleek head against Ethan's hand. In a gesture that had become familiar. Other places learning? More younglings finding father protectors? Yes, Ethan replied aloud for the benefit of the observers. The first volunteer exchange program starts next month. Human researchers will study on Vorthic worlds, and their young will come here for cultural immersion rather than captivity. The irony wasn't lost on him. The man who had been discarded for falsifying data to protect one species had become instrumental in forging peace between 2 others. His disgrace had led him to the exact situation where his unique combination of scientific knowledge and emotional intelligence was most needed. As evening approached and the station's day cycle dimmed, Ethan made his way to the newly constructed Arboretum, a space designed to accommodate both human and Vorthic psychological needs. Nexus padded beside him, now fully grown but retaining the gentle demeanor that had shocked everyone who witnessed it. Other bonded pairs were already there. Dr. Sarah Kim, with her partner Whisper of Storms. Engineer Paulo Santos, with his bondmate Clever Talon Find Solutions. Each relationship was unique, but all shared the fundamental element that made the program successful: mutual choice rather than coercion. Question thought for Father Protector, Nexus said as they settled beneath a grove of hybrid trees. If Nexus had been broken-mind like others, would Father Protector still have chosen healing touch? Ethan considered the question seriously. I don't know, he admitted, but I'd like to think that anyone capable of suffering deserves compassion, regardless of how that suffering has changed them. Sometimes the most important thing we can do is see the being someone could become, rather than focusing on what they are in their pain. The response carried deep satisfaction, tinged with something that felt remarkably like love. This why bond grows strong. Father Protector sees truth essence beneath surface appearance.